Hallo Leute, herzlich willkommen im Deutschunterricht. Welcome. Today we are going to be doing a bit of grammar. Zwar das Präsens, the present tense, very important tense, the tense that we use the most when we are speaking and writing. Okay. So in my notes, I have the entirety of Einheit 1. Unit 1 is simply das Präsens, the present tense. So everything that you need to know about the present tense in German. But I would never do the entirety of a tense in one lesson because that is just way too much. So I'm going to break it down. So in today's lesson, we're just going to look at regular verbs and verbs ending in den and ten in the present tense. Okay. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify the present tense, understand when we use the present tense, and you should be able to formulate the present tense with regular verbs and verbs ending in den or ten. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today. So first of all, when do we use the present tense? The present tense is used to talk about events or things that are happening at the moment, or events or things that happen continuously, so all the time. So that's when we'll use the present tense, all right? If you also have a look here, before we get into the grammar stuff, before I go into each chapter, you'll see in my notes that I have 3 pages actually, just with wichtige Begriffen, with important terms, grammar terms, okay? So obviously for your paper, in the grammar section, the grammatical term is listed in German. So it's really, really important that you know each grammar theme and term in German, but also that you know what that is in English and you know what it means. So I have a breakdown of all the important terms here in the first 3 pages of the grammar notes. So wichtige Begriffen, important terms, okay? And I'm just going to, before we get into the present tense, I'm just going to run through these top 4 terms because I'm going to be talking about them a lot in this lesson, okay? So just make sure we're okay with them. But again, if you're ever unsure, go back up to these first few pages here and just have a read, all right? So we're obviously going to be talking about verbs, okay? Das Verb. So a verb is any doing word or action, okay? Here I have any doing or action word, that's meant to say not verb, sorry. Any doing word or any action, okay, is a verb. And all verbs in German end in either n or en. So for example here, spielen, machen, sehen, wechseln, und so weiter und so fort. So all verbs in German end in n or en, okay? You'll hear me talking about an infinitive of a verb as well, der Infinitiv. The infinitive is the original form of a verb before you change it or before you put it into any tense. It's the original form of a verb before you do anything to it. It's the form of the verb that you will get if you were to look it up in a dictionary, okay? And the infinitive of the verb, the full form of the verb, will always have n or en on it. So like these verbs here. So these verbs above here, these are all in their infinitive form here, all right? So these are all in their infinitive form, in their full form. They haven't been changed, nothing's been done to them. They end in n or en, okay? So they're infinitives, the original form of a verb before you change it, and they will always end in n or en. Conjugation, then you'll hear me talking a bit about conjugation, all right? We'll be talking about conjugating verbs into the present tense, okay? So it sounds very complicated, but conjugation is just another word for changing a verb, okay? So conjugation is changing the infinitive of a verb to create a certain tense or reflect a subject. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be conjugating regular verbs and verbs ending in den or ten to create the present tense. Okay, so we're going to be changing verbs, conjugating them. And finally then, what we're going to look at first of all here is regelmäßige Verben. Ein regelmäßiges Verb is a regular verb, all right? And regular verbs are verbs that always follow a certain set of rules or a certain pattern, okay? So regular verbs, they follow a regular structure, a regular pattern, all right? So they always follow the same set of rules or the same structure or pattern. Most verbs in German are regular, and all new verbs in the German language are regular as well, okay? And these are just some examples of some regular verbs here. Machen, spielen, kochen, tanzen, telefonieren. There's loads, all right? There's loads of regular verbs. There's just a few examples. So now that we're okay with those terms, we're going to go straight into our present tense, okay? Das Präsens, right? So we're going to look first of all of the present tense of regular verbs. So if you have a regular verb, this is what you will do with them to put them into the present tense, okay? So we have to conjugate it. So we have to change it, all right? And this is how we conjugate a regular verb to put it into the present tense correctly. So first of all, you will have your infinitive of the verb, so your verb, your full form of the verb. you need to take off the en or n. That is our first step. Whether it ends in en or n, take it off, okay? So get rid of the en or n at the end of your verb. So here, for example, I have the verb spielen, to play. It's regular verb, spielen, to play. I've gotten rid of the en here. We get rid of that, okay? Forget about it, it's gone, nimm das weg, and we're left with spiel, all right? This form of the verb, once we take off the n or en, that is called our stem or our root. That's not overly important, but just if you hear me referring to it, that's its grammatical term, all right? So when you take off the n or en, we're left with this small form of the verb or our root or stem of the verb, okay? So that's our first step. So Nummer 1, we take off the n or en, okay, and we're left with this stem. Once you're left with your stem, once you take off the n or en, you have to put an ending onto the verb. So we're going to add an ending onto the verb. This ending creates the present tense, okay? So it's like in English, okay? We put on kind of endings to things to create a tense, and this ending will change depending on who's doing the verb, all right? So we have to look at who's doing our verb, all right? And then we add on the correct ending for that person, all right? So look at who's doing the verb and then add on the correct ending to the end of the stem. So if I am doing the verb, ich, okay, if I'm doing the verb, if I want to say I play or I am playing, I will add on e to the end of my stem, okay, to the end of the verb. Ich spiele, I play. And that creates my present tense form for ich, all right? Ich spiele, all right? If I want to say you are doing the verb, I add on st. My ending is st. So it's Beispiel, du spielst, you play. If I want to say he, she, it, or one is doing the verb, so he plays, she plays, it plays, one plays, they will get the ending t. Okay, that's my third person ending t. So sie, es, man, spielte. Okay, he, she, it, one plays. So you can see there, it's the same in English, right? I play, you play, he, she, it, one plays. Okay, our verb changes depending on who's doing the verb, and it's the exact same thing in German. You wouldn't say he play. That's incorrect. Okay, he play. We say he plays. The verb changes depending on who's doing it, and it's the same thing in German. The verb changes. It gets a different ending depending on who's doing the verb. Then we have wir, okay, we. If we want to say we are doing the verb, okay, so we play, we are playing, we add on en. Wir spielen, we play. Ihr, you plural, ye or yous. I say ye, okay, so in Wexford we say ye, but I was informed when I was teaching in Dublin schools that that's not really a thing. I used to kind of get a few funny looks when I said ye. I think you might say yous maybe. So you plural, ye or yous, depending on where you're from. Basically a group of people. If you're talking to more than one person, you will use ihr, you plural, okay? And the ending for that is t, ihr spielte, okay? Then we have sie and sie, they and you formal. So you formal, sie with a capital S, that is used, remember, when we're talking to an adult or somebody that we don't know or in a formal setting. We add on en for both of those. Sie spielen, they play, sie spielen, you formal play. And that is it. That is how we put any regular verb into the present tense. So we get our verb, we take off the en, we look at who's doing the verb, and then we add on the correct ending depending on who's doing the verb. So for example, ich, I add on e, du, I add on st, sie, es, man, t, wir, en, ihr, t, sie, en. They're my endings, okay? I actually saw a really helpful trick in, there's a great junior cycle book by Präsens, Gefällt mir, which I really like to use with my junior cycle classes. And the writer had a great tip in there for remembering the ending. So if you find it too difficult to remember, okay, ich is e, du is st, sie, es, man is t. If you find that too difficult, I love teaching my year groups this, which I did not come up with. I got from the Präsens book, and I think it's just excellent, so I use it now every year. Every strict teacher enjoys teaching English. So thank you, Präsens and Maeve, the writer, for this, because I think it's great. So this rhyme helps me remember the endings. So this helps me remember it. So every E is my ending for ich. Strict, ST is my ending for do. Teacher, T is my ending for sie, es, man. Enjoys, en is my ending for wir. T is my ending for ear, and en is my ending for z and z. Every strict teacher enjoys teaching English. So if you find it too difficult to just learn off the verb endings like, okay, ich, I, do, st. If you find that too difficult, try using this rhyme. Every strict teacher enjoys teaching English because I find it great. I think it's a great tip, okay? And that's it basically. That is what we will do with every regular verb to create the present tense. So if you have a regular verb, take off the en or n, see who's doing the verb, and add on your correct ending, all right? Now, once we have our correct form of the verb, once our verb is conjugated correctly, when we have the correct ending onto it, this verb form then goes in second place in the sentence. That is ganz wichtig, very, very, very important, okay? Present tense, your verb, your conjugated verb, your verb with the ending is always the second idea, the second thing in the sentence. So make sure once your verb is conjugated correctly, it's in second place. It's the second thing or the second idea in your sentence when you're writing sentences, okay? So, jetzt dann. Wir machen ein bisschen Übung. We're going to do a little bit of practice, okay? With our present tense of regular verbs. And here's also a list of some common regular verbs that you will use a lot. So machen, lernen, kochen, spielen, kaufen, suchen, fragen, lieben, passieren, sagen, reisen, tanzen. The list goes on and on, okay? So there's some common regular verbs. Any of these verbs here, any regular verb, if I want to put it into the present tense, I use that same set of rules here that I use with spielen, okay? So they all follow the same set of rules, all right? So we're going to do a bit of practice here. So for Übung 1.1, for this first exercise here, I have, just to kind of ease us into it, I have already taken off the en or n. So remember, our first step is always to take off the en or n, and then we add on our ending. Here, I have it done for us. We're going to do a few where we're just adding on the ending just to ease us into it, okay? So here for Übung 1, here I am just working with the stem of the verb, all right? So I have my stem or the root of the verb already. I've already taken off the en, okay? So for example, that first one here, that was kochen, okay? But I've taken off my en, I've gotten rid of it, and I'm left with my stem, koch, okay? So all of these, we have our stem and we're just adding on the correct ending just to ease us into it, all right? So, Nummer 1 dann. I want to say, ich koche am Wochenende. I cook at the weekend, all right? So I have my stem already. I need to add on my correct ending. So I need to look at who's doing my verb. Ich. I am doing the verb. I'm saying I cook, all right? So now I have to add on the correct ending for ich to reflect my subject or who's doing my verb. My ending for ich is I, okay? Remember, I rhyme either every I. I is my ending for ich. So I add on I to the end of koch. And I end up with ich koche am Wochenende. And you see here, my verb is in second place. Okay, ich koche am Wochenende. I cook at the weekend. Next one then, man macht Sport. Machen is the verb to make or do. Again, I've taken off the en already. I'm left with my stem, so I just have to add on my ending. One plays or does sport. Okay, so in German we say we macht Sport, we use machen with Sport. Okay, machen or treiben, to make or do with sport. All right, so one plays or does sport. All right, so I have my stem already, mach. I need to add on an ending to this now to create my present tense. All right, so my ending for man, if you can remember, is T. Okay, er, sie, es, man, third person, my ending is T. So I will add on T to the end of the verb, and I'm left with man macht Sport. Man macht Sport. So unless you have the correct ending on the verb, it's not in the present tense. So that creates our present tense. So taking off the en, adding in the correct ending, that creates our present tense. Without it, it's not in the present tense. All right. We might just look at I might just do 2 more here with you, and then we're going to move on to the next ones, because I think we should be able for the other ones. Wir tanzen bei der Party. Okay, we dance at the party. All right, so here I'm left with tanzen is the verb to dance. I've taken off my en. I'm left with my stem, which is tanz. Now I have to add on the correct ending. So I have to look at who's doing my verb. Wir. Oops, I want my highlighter, not that. So we're saying we dance, okay? We dance at the party, all right? So my ending for wir, if you can remember, is en, okay? wir and en. Every strict teacher enjoys. The en from that enjoys. My ending for wir is en, so I add that on. Wir tanzen bei der Party, okay? A lot of people ask me when I'm teaching these endings, well, does it make a difference if I have the wrong ending? Yes, it makes a difference, okay? I would still, like any German speaker, anybody who speaks German would still understand what you were saying. If you said, for example, wir tanzt bei der Party, if you had the incorrect ending, I would still understand what you were saying, but I would know, obviously, that it's wrong, and that you're not a native speaker. Like, I'd know it's wrong, but I'd still understand you. So it does make a difference, particularly if you want to get high marks in your expression. If you want to get high marks for grammar accuracy, yes, it does make a big difference then. So communication-wise, it doesn't make a huge difference. It's like if I said to you in English, I plays football. You would know that I'm wrong, but you'd still understand what I was saying. So yes, communication-wise, I'd still get what you're saying, but accuracy, grammar-wise, marks-wise for our leaving cert, yes, it does make a difference, okay? Last one I'm going to look at here is I might do number 8 here, okay? So, Julia und Robert, okay, spielen den ganzen Tag Karten. So I want to say Julia and Robert play cards for the whole day. So I have the verb spielen. I've taken off my en already, all right? Now, who's doing the verb? Julia and Robert are playing or play. So Julia and Robert are doing my verb, all right? People sometimes get a bit confused if you don't have like a pronoun in there. So if it's not ich, du, er, sie, es, man, wir, ihr, sie, people sometimes get a bit confused. So say here I have 2 names there. Or if I had maybe like der Lehrer or der Mann or Maria, if I had one person's name, people can get a bit confused. So what I would say is Julia and Robert play. If I wasn't going to say Julia and Robert play, what would I say? I would say they play, wouldn't I? Julia and Robert play or they play, all right? So I treat it like they. So go up to my verb endings. What is my ending for they? En, so I add on en. And it's more than one person as well, okay? So it's plural. So I know I'm not going to be using an ending for like ich, du, er, sie, es, man, because they're all singular. It's more than one person, okay? So if you have another noun or people's names, just think, okay, well, what would I say? If I wasn't going to say Julia and Robert, what would I say? Okay, and then figure out your verb ending figure it out that way. Great, okay. Now we're just going to do a few from Übung 1.2, conjugieren Sie die Verben, conjugate the verbs. So here we are conjugating the full verb, all right? So I think we should be able for that now after going through our rules and doing a bit of practice with the stems there, okay? So conjugieren Sie die Verben, conjugate the verbs. First one here, ich in Hamburg. I want to use the verb wohnen, okay? I want to say wohnen is the verb to live. I want to say I live in Hamburg, okay? So I'm using the verb wohnen, to live. First thing I have to do before I add on any ending or do anything is I take off my en or n. So wohnen ends in en. I get rid of that. I'm left with wohn, okay? I'm left with wohn, all right? Left with my stem. Now I add on an ending to that form of the verb, all right? So I have to look at who's doing my verb and that'll tell me what my ending is. Ich, I am doing the verb. I live. So my ending for ich, if you can remember, is e. Okay, so if you go up to our notes here for unsure, my ending is e. All right, so I will then add on e to the end of wohn. So I end up with ich wohn. Hopefully I can write this in clearly for you. Kind of clearly, not the best, not the worst. Ich wohne in Hamburg. I live in Hamburg. Good. Next one then we're going to look at Jonas, okay? Jonas gerne. I want to use the verb kochen, to cook, okay? Jonas likes to cook, all right? Anytime we add in, if you see gerne after a verb, that kind of adds in the element of like, to like doing that verb, okay? So Jonas likes to cook, okay? So my verb is kochen, to cook. First thing I do, take off the en or n. So that's gone, okay? I'm left with koch, all right? Now I will add on an ending to this form of the verb. So who's my subject? Jonas. Now, again, remember, sometimes people get confused with this, okay? Jonas is doing the verb. He likes to cook. Jonas likes to cook. So if I wasn't saying Jonas likes to cook, I would say he likes to cook, wouldn't I? So I treat it like he. So my ending for he is T, all right? So Jonas likes to cook, or he likes to cook. So Jonas kocht gern. My ending is T. Gut, Jonas kocht gern. Okay, Jonas kocht gerne. Gut gemacht. We might just do 2 or 3 more of these. I'm going to look at number 4 here. So sie as in they. So sie as in they need more time. Brauchen is the verb to need. I want to say they need more time. So sie as in they need more time. So brauchen is my verb. I take off the en. It's my first step. En is gone. I'm left with brauch. I add on my ending to this form of the verb. Sie as in they. What is my ending for sie as in they? We can use our rhyme, or we can go up and check. Sie, my ending is en, okay? So I add on en to brauch, and I'm left with sie brauch. God, I promise I'll get better now at the writing. I'm getting there. Right, sie brauchen mehr Zeit. They need more time. You see here my verb is in second place all the time, all right? If I said sie braucht mehr Zeit, sie brauchte, that would be she needs more time. So do we see there another reason why our ending is important? Because yes, sie can mean they, it can mean you formal, or it can mean she. But you will know which it is judging by the end of the verb. So sie braucht, she needs. Sie brauchen, they need. All right. We might do 2 more. Because I think we should be getting the hang of it now at this stage, hopefully. I might do this one here, number 6. Frau Klengel, something sie Tennis. Okay. Frau Klengel, Mrs. Klengel, do you play tennis? All right. So my verb is spielen. Okay. Spielen is to play. So the first thing I do is I get rid of my en. I'm left with spiel. Okay. Now, Frau Klengel already kind of simplifies the kind of the person that this is. Frau Klengel, Mrs. Klengel. Would you address someone that you know as Mrs.? No, you wouldn't. So this already suggests that it's a formal situation, but what gives it away is my Z with a capital S, okay? Z with a capital S is my formal U, my U formal, okay? So my ending, so it's my U formal, so my ending for my U formal is, if we go back up here, en. Okay, so I will add on en to the end of the verb, and I'm left with Frau Klengel spiel. Where are my colours gone? Frau Klengel spielen sie Tennis. All right, Frau Klengel spielen sie Tennis. So you formal there. We'll do one more. Maybe number 7. Ihr something jedes Wochenende eure Tante. So here I want to use the verb besuchen. Okay, so I want to say you, plural, visit your aunt every weekend. So I have the verb besuchen. I take off the en. Okay, that's gone. And then I'll add on the correct ending to this form of the verb. So ihr, my ending for you, plural, for ihr is T. Okay, so I will add that on now. I end up then with ihr besucht. Getting better at the writing. Ihr besucht jedes Wochenende eure Tante. Okay? You visit, or you plural visit your auntie every weekend. All right? So that's it. Das ist das Präsens. Okay? Das ist das kind of Hauptding, the main thing with the present tense. All right? And that is what we will do with every single regular verb. All right? Every single regular verb, to put it into the present tense, take off your en or n, you look at who's doing the verb, and then you add on your correct ending, your e, st, t, en, t, or en. Remember, you can always use this rhyme to help you as well. Every strict teacher enjoys teaching English. All right? Now, so that's our present tense of regular verbs. So if we're okay with regular verbs, then we're just going to do one more thing for this lesson, which is Verben, die mit den und ten beenden. Verbs that end in den or ten in the present tense. So if you can do regular verbs, you'll be able to do these verbs as well. There's just one extra step, okay? One extra step with these verbs. So, oops, I'm going out of that now. So, if you have a verb that ends in den or ten, it's very similar to the present tense. There's just one extra step. Toot my light, sorry now, I'm after going out of this. Here we go. Okay. Nominative, present tense is here. Now, so present tense of verbs ending in den or ten. So when a verb ends in den or ten, or if the stem of the verb, so remember the stem of the verb is when we take off the en. So once we take off the en or n of the verb, if that ends in d or t, we have an extra step. So if the verb ends in den or ten, or if the stem ends in d or t, we have an extra step for do, sie, es, man, and ihr. So not for every single person, that's important, okay? It's just for do, sie, es, man, and ihr. We will add on an extra e before our ending, all right? So if you have a verb ending in den or ten, if you are saying do, sie, es, man, or ihr with it, you, he, she, it, one, you plural, just know before you add on your ending, you need to add in an extra e between the stem, so between the verb and the ending. We add in an extra e, okay? So zum Beispiel, if we have a verb like arbeiten, warten, heiraten, mieten, bilden, reden. Do you see all those verbs end in den or ten, okay? If you have a verb ending in den or ten, you will need to add in an extra e for do, sie, es, man, and ihr. Why, you ask? This is simply for pronunciation reasons, because it's too hard to pronounce otherwise, okay? Because we have two consonants together. So you'll notice with German, we tend to not have two consonants together because it's too harsh and it's too difficult to pronounce, okay? So for that reason, we add in an extra e, so we don't have two consonants together, all right? So if you look at the example here I'm doing an example with the verb warten. So warten is the verb to wait. It ends in ten, okay? So because it ends in ten, I add in an extra e for do, sie, es, man, and ihr, so I don't have two consonants together. So, ich warte, du wartest, sie, es, man, wartet. Oh, Entschuldigung, that is a mistake there actually, if you see that. That is a typo there. Do you see what's wrong there? It has st instead of t, so that should be, there's no s there. Entschuldigung, sorry, that is a typo. Ich warte, du wartest, sie, es, man, wartet, wir warten, ihr wartet, sie warten. So you can see here, for do, oops, that is not my highlighter. For do, okay, for sie, es, man, and for ihr, I have an extra e between the verb and the ending. That is simply for pronunciation reasons. But I think you would even know yourself, if we were using the verb warten, and if you wrote down, I'll just go over here, if we had the verb warten, okay, we had the verb warten, and we wanted to say you wait, do, so we take off our en, that's gone, I'm left with wart, add on my ending for do is st, du wartest, du wartest. It's too hard to pronounce and it doesn't look right, okay? Same with sie, es, man, so I want to say he waits, wart, my ending for is t, wart, you can't really pronounce that, okay? So that's why we add in our extra e in here then to make it easier to pronounce, okay? So between the stem of the verb and the ending, you will add in your extra e, okay? And again, it's simply for pronunciation reasons, all right? Same thing with arbeiten. Arbeiten is the verb to work, ends in ten. So for do, sie, es, man, and ihr, I add in an extra e, okay? Ich arbeite, du arbeitest, sie, es, man, arbeitet, wir arbeiten, ihr arbeitet, sie arbeiten. So the other ones, the ich, the wir, and the sie and sie, doesn't make a difference because we don't have two consonants together. It's just for the ones where we have two consonants together. So if you have a verb ending in den or ten, just be aware that for do, sie, es, man, and ihr, put in an extra e before your ending. But I think, like I showed you here, you'd kind of know even just by looking at it and by the sound of it that it's wrong, okay? So that's why we add in our extra e, just for pronunciation. So, jetzt machen wir ein bisschen Übung. So it's the exact same thing. Get your stem, figure out who's doing the verb, put on your correct ending, and before you put on your correct ending, just add in an e, all right? Und das war's, that's it. So, we're going to do a bit of practice here. Konjugieren Sie die Verben, conjugate the verb. So, ich, something, ich something der Frage, okay? I answered the question, all right? That's the der Frage. I answered the question, I want to say, all right? So, I the verb antworten. Antworten ends in 10. What happens if I have a verb ending in den or 10? I add an extra E for du, the S-man, and ihr, okay? So, who's doing my verb? Ich, all right? So, be careful with that. Do I need to add it on for ich? No, it's just for du, the S-man, and ihr, all right? So, this one just behaves as normal. I take off my en is gone, I'm left with antwort, and then I add on my ending. My ending for ich is e, so I end up with ich antworte. Okay? There's no extra e needed here. It's just for du, the S-man, and ihr when we have two consonants together. Now, die Tasche something 50 Euro. I want to use the verb kosten, to cost. The bag costs 50 euro. Kosten ends in 10. So remember, I need to be careful if I'm using du, the S-man, and ihr. Okay? So kosten is to cost. So I take off my en, all right? Anyway, oh my God, why does that keep happening? Because I'm not in yellow, okay? So I take off my en is gone, I'm left with cost, okay? Now, the bag costs 50 euro. Remember, it's du, the S-man, and ihr I need to be careful with. So, the bag costs. If I wasn't going to say the bag costs, I would say it costs, okay? It costs. So remember, du, the S-man, and ihr get this extra E. It will get this extra E. So, die Tasche cost et. So I'm left with cost once I take off my en. Before I add on my ending, I have to add in an extra E. And then I add on my ending, which is T. The S-man gets the T ending. So die Tasche kostet. But again, I think you would know if you wrote down kost. That doesn't look right, okay? So we add in our extra E here for pronunciation reasons. Good. So wir machen noch ein paar, we'll just do a few more. Wir something über das Spiel. Wir reden über das Spiel. We talk about the match or the game, okay? Reden ends in den. So depending on my subject, I might have to add in an extra E. So who's my subject? Wir. Do I add in an extra E for wir? No, it's just for du, the S-man, and ihr. So this just behaves as normal then. Take off my en, I'm left with red. Add on my ending for wir is en. Wir reden. That is very messy. Wir reden. Okay, last one then that we'll look at. Actually, no, I might do 4 and 5. Something seine Freundin. Okay, heiraten is the verb to marry. I would say he marries his girlfriend. Okay, heiraten ends in 10. So I may have to add in an extra E depending on my subject. Who's doing my verb? Okay. Is doing my subject, is doing my verb, okay? So he. Do I get an extra E for he? So remember, it's du, the S-man, and ihr. Yes, okay, so I'm going to add in an extra E here. So I take off my en, I'm left with heirat, okay? Heirat. Because it's I need to add in my extra E. So remember, du, the S-man gets the extra E. So heiratet. So before I add on my ending, I put in an extra E. Heiratet seine Frau. Last one then, do something near jeden Morgen einen Text. So I want to use the verb senden here to send. Schicken is another verb you can use. Senden. So you send a text to me every morning, or you send me a text every morning. All right. So my verb senden, it ends, oh my God, if I do that one more time, senden, okay, ends in den. So might get an extra E depending on who is doing our verb, all right? So who's doing my verb? Do. Does do get an extra E? Yes, it does. Remember, do, the S-man, and ihr get the extra E. So take off your en, as always. I'm left with send, okay? Send. My ending for do is st, but before I do that, I have to add in my extra E. Du sendest. Okay? Gut. Und das war's. Okay, a bit messy, but you get the idea anyway. So that is everything with our present tense for regular verbs and verbs ending in den or ten. So if you can do regular verbs, you can do the verbs ending in den or ten. So regular verbs, remember, take off the n or en, see who's doing the verb, and add on your correct ending. est, ten, t, or en. And the verb always goes in second place. Verbs ending in den or ten then, same thing. But if you're using du, sie, es, man, or ihr, you just need to put in an extra e before your ending, just so we can pronounce it, okay? Und das war's dann. So das ist alles mit dem Präsens für regelmäßige Verben und Verben, die mit den und ten beenden. Hopefully that helps, and I will be continuing on with the present tense then in our next class. So viel Spaß!